book is about a group of close-knit friends growing up in quite a deprived area of Newcastle upon Tyne in the late 80s. We put a lot of emphasis on what it was like growing up back then and how we made our own entertainment with very little money, but a lot of imagination. Perfect life. We close our eyes. The perfect life. Life is all we need. Newcastle and Colgate in particular in the 80s was very much Thatcher's Britain. The area itself where we grew up in Colgate was quite run down. You know, there was quite a lot of theft, there was empty houses, a lot of unemployment, you know, and so people basically just had to do what they had to do to live.
Growing up in Colgate in the 80s, you had to be streetwise. It was desolate, you know. It wasn't basically an ideal adventure playground, but we made it into our playground where we just incorporate different families into our everyday lives. It's never changed in 25 years. It's exactly the same as it was then. It's a place of little hope, lots of boarded up homes, stray dogs running around. It's a place trapped in time. It's a place where dreams aren't meant to happen, but quite often do. There's a lot of decent people from the area who really wanted better for themselves but never quite had the chance, you know. That's what Colgate's like.
I would say the places that stand out and have importance to me within the Colgate area growing up, obviously the Blue Door where we used to hang about. We used to spend a lot of time on the tavern playing fields, the tavern being an old social club that had a lot of derelict land behind it, and we used to play for hours on there, either whether it be football or climbing through the trees, etc.
Geographically, it's the tavern, I'd say, was the centre of everything. You could see the school in the distance, you could see the Blue Door, and we all lived within earshot of the tavern. And we spent a lot of our time there building dens, climbing through the trees. You go under the gap in the fence, and at the top you got Stamford Field, which was like the Atlantic Ocean in 4-12. There was potholes, divots, but we always played football there, you know, and it's the whole Colgate area that stands out. You had Aslams just across the way, who we terrorised constantly, and which is brought up in a couple of chapters in the book. What inspired us to write the book? Back in the day, Paul and I, we used to do a lot of comedy writing together since we was at school, since like the age of probably, I don't know, 13, 14 maybe, I don't know. So we started writing a lot of character, sort of different people in different, every walks of life type of thing like that. So then we came up with this idea of just writing a book, because a lot of people didn't seem to have the same childhood as we had, when the stories we had to write down, and before we knew we had a book there in the process, you know. So
yeah, it was one of them things when you get together as a group of friends, when you just go out as you're older and you start recounting stories of when you were younger. Can you remember when we used to do this, and remember when we used to do that? And it always brought a smile to our face, and I think from there it developed into me and Neil talking and realising I had a bunch of stories that were worth telling.
So the book was written by you, mate, wasn't it? It wasn't like sitting down face to face. It was, which made it more difficult, and we just send each other what we'd written. And before we knew it, we had like a little collection of different things, you know.
When we had all the stories together, which we thought were worth telling, we just amalgamated the two lots of stories, and that's where the book came out of. I would say from starting it took about two years. We try to find the right balance in the book between comedy and drama, just through the stories. I think they all came quite naturally because some of the stories were funny, some of the stories were sad, so we basically told them the way that we lived them out, really. So when there's comedy elements, it's exactly the way it happens. When there's sad moments, when there's dramatic moments, they are exactly the way it happens. Well, we would try to be as truthful as we could, telling the story of the Blue Door.
I think for the book to work, it had to have a comedy aspect. It had to first make people laugh and want to like the characters and want to know what was going to happen next to the characters and sort of be able to sort of relate to them because they could remember what they were like when they were kids. A lot of people have asked us, is the book, is it completely factual? Is it true? Did these things happen? And I'd have to say, yeah, well, we hand on my heart, a lot of it was written on factual circumstances, incidents. Okay, we did maybe perhaps polish a fine sheen to the story to sort of give it its edge, to make it funny, to make it readable, to make it interesting to people who don't know the characters. But it's all based on actual events that happened, 100%.
Who are they to uncover my shame? Who are they to call me by my name? Cloying in my mind.
I'd say we definitely captured the essence of growing up in the 80s. It was, it had to be, you had to put in the essence of the 80s in it. It had to be trying to show kids of the day what it was like in the 80s, how great it was and the freedom. And I don't know, it was a great era to grow up in the 80s.
It was, yeah. We used to just go out and do our own thing, and before the days of mobile phones and Sky TV and laptops and PlayStations and Xboxes, we just had our imagination, you know, and we'd do things that probably a lot of teenagers would balk at now and think, what, you know, but we had fun, we knew nothing different, and that was our entertainment growing up, you know. And
looking back, it's amazing we got away with it, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope the book does capture what the 80s were about and what it was like for us growing up. I would say my favourite story from the book is the Werewolf at Colgate, simply because of the imagination factor that we put into it. We came up with this, now looking back, a ludicrous idea that a friend's father was a werewolf.
It was Paul's idea. Paul wrote that story, but obviously it was a story we were both very familiar with. But Paul, I think I'll let you take it on because you nailed it.
One of our close friends at the time, Michael Fox, he was a little bit hairy for a 13-year-old. We never thought anything by it until that fateful day. It was a brisk November morning like any other. Neil and I were doing our usual morning routine, which involved calling our square-headed friend, Michael Fox. I had a good rapport with Michael. He was a cheery lad who resembled Ralph Macchio from The Karate Kid. As we got closer to the house, we had a distinct feeling that we were being watched, but didn't think anything of it. We opened up the gate and walked up the path. Neil stepped up to ring his doorbell and no one answered. So we stood there for a little while, but in the background we could hear some commotion. It was weird, it sounded like chickens in distress. By this time we'd been standing there well over 30 seconds to a minute. No one had come to the front door. Neil and I just turned and walked away. Then the door was answered by a fully fledged living werewolf.
The guy had cyborgs, like hamsters on his face. He had blood trickling down his lip, massive fingernails, and when he went to speak he growled, didn't he? Yeah, it was like ah. Luckily enough, Michael didn't come out at the porch that day, but me and Neil couldn't get off his property fast enough. To this day, the thought of that hairy beast answering the door on Pontyland Road will always send a shiver down my spine. We actually made plans, I think, about going to the local newspaper to report this. You know, there was prices going up in Safeways, you know, and chickens. It did lead to months of nightmares, didn't it?
It certainly did, you know, and it was a
had very vivid imaginations.
Well, yeah.
It didn't take a lot to convince me that something wasn't right.
Yeah, in our young minds, that was enough for to be convinced. You know, it was
looking for silver bullets, and that was, as far as we were concerned at that age, Michael's dad had to die. Looking back, there's quite a few things I would have wished that we could have put in the book that didn't make the final cut, if you want. But we were hindered on how much space we had, many pages we could have. There's a lot of stories that didn't go in, but we have added 2 or 3 stories since it first got published. But it's like anything, you can only take positives from what you've actually got in the end, instead of what you haven't got. So I'm always coming up with ideas for new stories, and I'm always trying to challenge Paul to sort of pick his pen up again and carry on with it, you know, and see what happens, you know.
I get asked the same question all the time: is there going to be a sequel? And I keep people guessing, possibly.
I mean, in hindsight, I'm happy with the way the book turned out. I don't know, you know, it was my first attempt. You know, looking back, maybe we could have done a bit more research. You know, I recently read a book by an author, an American guy who actually liked the book, a guy called Tom Harvey, and he did a lot of research, and his you know, he put songs in the places of stories, and you can sort of really feel it. But I think for a first try, I think we're proud of what it's done, you know, and how many people have actually read it. We get reviews from America and Australia, and you know, you can't really grumble with that. So,
yeah, I would say the same. I mean, the thing is that there was a host of stories that, well, titles that we could have put stories to that didn't go down in the book, you know. So we probably could have kept on going, writing. But
we were limited, weren't we? What we could use.
Yeah.
The publishers, we were limited how much we actually put in there. So.
But I do know, as Neil saying, I do know a few people that's read it, and they've come back to us and they've said that sparked a few memories, and that gave us a few laughs. And yeah, from a personal point of view, I ecstatic with what happened for 2 guys to put a group of stories together, come out and then get exposure in Northeast paper, the Evening Chronicle, do an interview on BBC Radio Newcastle about the book, you know, and it's went beyond my wildest, well, not my wildest dreams, but it's more than we could have expected.
We've had like established American authors saying it's the funniest book he's read in 10 years, you know what I mean? Who would have thought that? And 15,000 downloads on Amazon, 700 paperbacks. That's not bad for a couple of kids from Colgate. It certainly isn't.
My final thoughts regarding the book is that I'm proud that I did it. I think a lot of people have enjoyed reading the book, and that's given me a lot of satisfaction, you know, even strangers coming up to it or leaving with feedback on various outlets, and it's made us think, yeah, growing up in the 80s wasn't that bad at all, you know. We've had a lot of experience, I mean, good times and bad times, but we look back with fond memories, and that's where the book came to life.
Your final thoughts on the book? What we could have done differently or anything like that? I'd say it's been a fantastic ride. It's been an absolute buzz. People who don't know her, who know friends of friends, who know her, start talking about a book called The Memories of the Blue Door, and before they know it, these friends are saying, oh, and that guy sat there next to Paul, he wrote the book, or that's Neil over there, he wrote the book, or my boss, I work for P&O, I work down south on the ferries, and my boss was on holiday in Spain with his wife, and he was walking down the street and saw some random guy just sat on the wall reading our book, and it gives you little buzzes, you know. So I think, you know, we're trying to get the book in the schools now, slowly but surely on the curriculum for a coming of age book, to show kids what it was like before they had everything, when we had nothing, and what you can truly achieve if you just, you know, be loyal to your friends, to yourself, and just have adventures.